Meeting of the City Commission for Tuesday, February 13th, 2023 will come to order. Please join me in silencing your cell phones. Madam Deputy City Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Perrine.
Here.
Commissioner Martin.
Here.
Commissioner McGurk.
Here.
Commissioner Hartman.
Here.
Mayor Cleveland.
Here. Thank you very much. Now please rise while Police Department Chaplain Pete Carter delivers the invocation and remain standing for the pledge.
Let us pray. Most gracious and kind God, once again, we to come now and discuss those things that would help elevate our city, to make our lives better, to make this place we call New Smyrna Beach a place where people will welcome to come, to live, to have recreation, and to enjoy one another. We thank you, O God, for all those who serve. We ask that you continue to protect them, continue to watch over them, continue to lead them and guide them. Continue to be with each and every one of us as we give glory and honor to you with the lives that we live. In your matchless name we pray. Amen.
Amen. And now, Florida Children's Judicial Court Advocate and Guardian, Jeanette Graham, will deliver and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And also, too, it's my birthday tomorrow.
Thank you, Jeanette. Please be seated. Jeanette Graham's birthday is tomorrow. All right, I'm gonna wrote that down. Mr. City Manager, are there any changes to the published agenda?
I have a minor request. I would like to pull items 7E as in Edwards and 7F as in Frank for comments when the consent agenda comes up for discussion.
7E and 7F
as in Frank.
as in Foxtrot. Got it.
Thank
E and
you.
F. Okay.
That's
very
all.
good.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. And so now we're going to have a presentation. I'd like to invite Mr. and Mrs. Caswell to the podium to lead off a presentation about the Canal Street Car Show.
Oh, just like that. How about that?
Good evening. It's me again. My name is Craig Caswell, and I'm with the Canal Classic Cars on Canal. I'm not sure if everybody was there this weekend. Record turnout, record amount of cars. We appear here tonight to ask for a continuation of the conditions from which we inherited the car show. November of 22 saw the potential demise of a storied 26-year tradition. But a group of dedicated citizens with zero car show experience voluntarily offered to preserve the car show, the legacy, and we did it at our own expense. We absorbed all of the operating expenses personally with minimal outside contributions. 14 car shows and hundreds of volunteer hours later, we stand here simply asking for a continuation of the city's commitment to keeping the car show a part of our wonderful community. The community, bless you. The community, merchants, and visitors have been very supportive of our efforts at the car show. It is our hope the commissioners and the city of New Smyrna Beach will feel the same way. We have a presentation. I would like to introduce Bob Gatchell. He is one of our resident volunteers whose love of New Smyrna began in the 1950s. He's a native of Sanford. Bob retired from Lockheed Martin in 2016 as the Vice President for Government Financial Compliance after a 30-year career, during which time he held a Florida CPA license. He's well qualified to do this presentation.
Thank you, Craig. Good evening, Mr. Gatchell. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity here. Kind of took some notes from the last presentation. I know there were some items that we kind of concentrated on. And so the group got together and looked at those particular items. We want to come back to you with an idea of how we can overcome those obstacles without posing any risk or any concerns going forward. So going to kind of take you through the organization and operation of the Classic Cars on Canal. I think you know most of it. I'm going to talk a little bit about the fees and financial impact, if you will, to the city of whether the fees are applied or not applied. Jan will follow me talking about the benefits of the car show, and then we'll give to you some options for the future going forward. I believe you understand and know that the Classic Car Show, the excuse me, the Classic Cars on Canal is just a group of people, not an organization, we're not a club. We don't take in revenue. We don't ask money from anybody. It's operated totally by volunteers. We talked in the last meeting when we were here a month ago about the differences in the fees that are applied between for-profit organizations and not-for-profit organizations. I'd like to dive into that a little bit further. And also make you aware that the Classic Cars on Canal, we're neither one of those. The city has recognized in the application form for events that, I'm sorry.
Speak
Better
directly
now?
into that mic, Bob.
Okay, sorry. I'm kind of short too, you know, so I could pick it up here. That there was, in the application, the city recognizes for-profit, not-for-profit, charity, governmental. We're none of those. So where we kind of talked about classification between it's $500 or it's $250 or you know, we're going to waive things, which kind of perks everybody's ears up, or we're going to set a precedent that perhaps we can't live with going forward. You have to kind of go back and look at, okay, what's in the record? What has the city already looked at? How have they described the groups? I researched as much as I could through the available data, through the financial records, the budget records, and also the ordinances as far back as I could go to kind of understand how this came about. If you go back to 2017, February 14th, Ordinance 13-17, that's when kind of the stuff was laid out in different formats. Did have an attachment on it that said, hey, it's a $500 fee per event. None of that seems to have made it into the current ordinance. So when I looked for the fee structure and I looked for the background of how the fees are established, frankly, I couldn't come up with that. Regardless, we're going to talk a little bit more about the classification, but again, when we talk at profit, nonprofit, as you know, the operators of this have put in about $7,500 to $8,000 of their own money, not looking for any kind of return on that. It was established, of course, to continue 26-year tradition. The issues that kind of drove the other club and the merchants to have a little bit of a wedge between them have since been resolved via the way that we now operate the cars come in. Merchants are happy with that. In fact, in the Merchants Association on their website, they actually advertise the car show. I might note that the New Smyrna event website advertises the one in Port Orange. Just kind of fun thing to know and tell. But the participants come from the car show, come from all over. In fact, one of the first ones we had was visitors, wintertime visitors, residents from Ohio. The guy said, I thought this stopped. And I said, no, it got going. The next week they went back to Ohio, got their vintage car and hauled it down here on a trailer. So it does have some pretty good recognition. I want to look a little bit at the type of sponsors. Again, city seems to recognize two types of sponsors, profit, nonprofit, or if you want to add it, make it for government and charity. Again, we don't qualify for any of that, take in no money, don't have a profit motive, we're not a charity. All we are is a community service organization that is completely funded internally by individual taxpayers that live here in the city. Again, takeaway bullet on that is we don't fit the realm within the classification as we've historically used to be one of those sponsors. Therefore, when we go forward and talk about waivers, we're not talking about a waiver from an existing class, we're talking about a new class of sponsor. And we're going to look at, well, what are the appropriate fees that should be applied to that new class of sponsor. We're also going to think about, okay, what is the precedent? Well, if you can find another group of people that want to come forward and ask for no money and spend all of their money to attract upwards of 10 or 12,000 people to this city each year, then perhaps they would qualify as a new sponsor as well. However, the danger of people coming in and flying paper airplanes and saying, you know, we'd like to get rid of the fee, that's probably a low risk there. I don't know. But we think we're unique. We think maybe others might follow us, but we think the occurrence of that would be small. So let's look just a minute at the financials. Again, from my background, 30 years in this stuff, I had to put numbers up. I got some advice that said don't put numbers up, but I can't do it. I have to put numbers up. So if we look at this, we say, okay, the Pryor Car Club paid no event fees, and there's where we look at the precedent and all that. I say, okay, who cares? We really weren't able to track all the way that back to the prior commissions, try to find out what the comments were or any of the talking notes. So we say, okay, that's interesting, but let's look at it a little bit closer. Commission's now looking at, proposing the $500 per event. We already have to pay the $550 building department. And you put that together, okay, you got $6,550 of additional revenue to offset a city expense of $165 per event. Do the math on that times 12, that's $1,980. The city is spending, asking for $6,550 in return, and for that $1,980 that the city spends, bring in about 10 to 12,000 participants to the car show annually. So let's do the math a little further. So is the city willing to spend 19 cents per person to have more people come to New Smyrna and enjoy our restaurants and our different stores? So I did one more, and this will be the final number bullet, I promise you. And there is a revision on this one from the ones that you guys got about a month ago. It's that decimal thing. You know, do you move it to the left or to the right, and how do you get that? I think I got it right this time. But if you look at the additional revenue that might come in if you were to impose the fees, take out the $165 per event, the net impact to the city is an increase of revenue, if you want to call it that, of $4,570. The Recreation Department, by the way, at the end of your government fiscal year 22, which was the most recent data that I could get a hold of, has a surplus of $629,000. So if you put that $4,570 of additional income against their underrun of almost $630,000, it moves at about 0.7%. Now, the city's got pretty healthy reserves due to the wonderful financial management that's going on. General fund has a big reserve. Total citywide has a big reserve. This individual department that we're looking at has a pretty good reserve. So we got to sit there and look at it and say, okay, what is the city really looking for in seeking $6,000 additional a year? Perhaps it's additional reserve. I don't know. It seems that the funding coming in via the taxes and other services that the city provides is creating a pretty healthy financial environment. So I'm going to step aside for a minute and let Jana come up here and talk about the benefits of the car show. But as I walk off here, I'd like for you to consider that we're not like all the other groups. There is no other group like us that comes to provide a city service, a community service, that invites people from not only the city, but the surrounding areas. In fact, other counties come here. And the merchants like us, the merchants get to benefit from that. We will accept voluntary donations to cover our operating costs. That's okay. We're fine to go less out of pocket. However, We believe the degree, the amount of the fee is possibly a little bit out of sync with the benefits and certainly with the expenses that the city is employing on this. So I thank you for your time, and I'll let Janet take over.
Thanks, Bob. I don't even have to move this very much. All right, well, I will take us into the home stretch with just a few final thoughts and some quick slides. Don't want to take up too much of your time. You know what the benefits of the car show are. We've talked about this before, and you can read the slides. The word, to be perfectly honest, the word beloved I struggled with. It's overused, and it has kind of a fairy tale quality to it. But we didn't know what else to say. If you've been down to the car show recently, there's truly a magical quality about it. You see a sense of community, a sense of people coming together across generations. You see older people talking to younger people, reliving great memories. You see teenagers smiling. You see little children being lifted into car seats for photo opportunities by crotchety gearheads. No offense, Craig. You just see a sense of community and togetherness that is really hard to find in this day and age, and I think it brings an important value to our community. Again, we have this diverse demographic across all of the visitors that come in. You've got people that are bringing in business and commerce across our community, not just on Canal Street. The people that come in, many of them stay at hotels. They visit local restaurants. We've had many questions about where else can we go to eat. The restaurants on Canal Street are too crowded, so we're sending people to other places. You have this additional revenue that your group of people who are working for the community. As far as I have been involved in issues that this community faces, we've talked about how we make it affordable to live here for the people who service our community. The car show is a big, important part of their monthly income for those tip-dependent service industry workers. And again, the diversity, uniqueness of the shops and restaurants along Canal and across our community, it's free PR in a good sense, and it benefits the city. So the way that we see it, there's a couple of options for this commission. So we can continue as our volunteer group to operate this historical event on behalf of the residents and the city, provided that, as Bob explained, we can be recognized as a unique group, unlike other for-profit and nonprofit sponsors, and that the fee event is consistent with what was granted to prior car show operators. So grant us the same historical consideration that was granted to the previous operators of the car show. Alternatively, we can cease to operate the car show if we can't cover our operating expenses and city fees, which we can't. And then the city can assume operation of the car show, which was discussed at a previous meeting. The city can find a replacement car show operator, or this tradition can end with this commission. So those are your options as we see it. We would like to continue to operate the car show. When we were last here, you asked us to go back and engage with the community and see what we could do to get that support. So what have we done? We've met with every stakeholder we could possibly meet with. We've met with businesses across Canal Street. We've talked to residents. We have reached out and gotten unanimous and complete support for the car show. We have financial commitments to help us cover our operating expenses so that we don't have to come out of pocket kind of month after month. We have reached out to the community in other aspects. I don't know if any of you were down there this past month, but we engaged the Knights of Columbus, who were delighted to help us, and we were delighted to help them in what they do for the community. They helped us with security and safety. We helped them be present with their causes and raise some funds for what they are doing. So what can you do? That's what we've done. What can you do? Acknowledge the uniqueness of this event. Extend that prior commission support to our event and let us continue to operate under the premise that we took the car show under. We understood what the previous car show operator did, and that's one of the reasons why we were willing to jump in. Support your staff's recommendation, who also agreed in the presentation that we did the last time to partner with the car show so that we could continue to operate it. This car show it's a historic part of the brand of New Smyrna Beach. and it contributes to our sense of community. If you will let us, we would be honored to continue to operate the car show on behalf of the commission, the residents, and the city of New Smyrna Beach. And we would thank you for that honor. So we'll leave you with that.
Thank you, Ms. Caswell. Appreciate that, you and Craig and Mr. Gatchell. And I'm sure there are questions. Mr. McGurk.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for the presentation. It's insightful. This is I think this is an important issue. We've heard it a few times. I thank you for going in detail again about the expenses that you have put into it and what the city has done in the past. And I don't want to beat this thing too much, but I will tell you that it is unique. I think it is an asset to the city. I think it's interesting that, I speak for myself, perceive that there must be some big value to the businesses right on Canal Street, but maybe it's not as big as I think it is. I think that they have spoken, that they have an interest, but they don't want to overcommit. The numbers of this car show have been fantastic. So all I can do is commend the Caswells for taking on this effort, and it's been very popular. I can't speak for what may happen down the road, and I think we need to revisit this. But I think we need to revisit it because I would like to see the commission support this for another year. I'm not asking for indefinitely, but I think it can be reevaluated as we go. And as long as these numbers are, the car show is this popular and generating these kinds of numbers, I think waiving the $500 fee, that's what we're talking about, the monthly $500 fee that the city requires. Waiving that for another year, I think would be a really good idea to just to keep it going, and then we can readdress the issue next year.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, guys. I know how hard you've worked, and you've done an amazing job since the last time you were up here. I got a lot of different feedback from the past car show, and so I actually did my own due diligence here, and I went up and down Canal Street and talked to all of the businesses, and unanimously, as you said, we're in favor of the car show. So I appreciate all your hard work. I have also made phone calls to get sponsors for you guys, and I believe you said you have about $5,000 in sponsors, and then you could probably get more later. So the numbers in your slides didn't include overhead, so I cringed a little bit when I saw those numbers. They're not actually accurate, but that's a good base to go with. I feel that there is a huge value to our community with this car show, and I feel that because it's unique, that we don't really need to set a unique criteria for future, as mentioned. I think we just have to go case by case and look at each one as we go because it is so unique. I don't know if we should be able to waive the entire $500 per month because of the past board's a past board, we're a new board. But I definitely would like to see something done to help bridge that difference between the $6,500 and the $5,000. And I'd like to see at least contribute half if we could.
Thank you, ma'am. Commissioner Martin.
I really appreciate all the work you've done, and I sincerely, it's been great. And we know the car show's beloved. But I have a couple questions. Have you compared the numbers attracted by the car show annually to the numbers attracted by other street? For example, we have 2 items on the agenda tonight that both say that they attract about 2,000 people per event. So, I'm just trying to compare apples to apples, and we've got a lot of people that are paying that are using functionally the same numbers you are to justify not paying, and it's a hard one to parse. How's that? The other question is the origin of the leisure services reserves. I'm not sure that dollar amount. I'm not really sure.
I worked from the FY22 published financial reports for the city, and it was an underrun to the expenditures of $629,000. I can give you a copy of it. Now,
No, wait, why don't we just have, since our Director of Leisure Services is here and our city manager, they can give an accurate number here. I mean, because it's a very different picture
sure.
depending on that number.
I'm not sure you guys are prepared to do that, but let's get your questions out of the way, and while they're thinking about it, we'll
Okay.
get there.
And,
Do you want me to answer the first question too, or you want to go through all your questions?
well, you can't, no, yeah, I mean, as you wish.
Okay,
What's comfortable.
so I don't have visibility to the other events on Canal, but we do have Liz Jones and Bobby Worth, who might have some insight to that from the Canal Street Historic District, if you'd like to.
Sure. And, and of course, my reference, as you know, is citywide. So we have all the Flagler events, for example.
It's huge. There were thousands of people out there last Saturday. It was quite unbelievable.
Oh, no, I'm sure it's huge.
More so than our other events.
And that's great. But, there's
Definitely.
probably, several thousand on Flagler at the moment, too.
Yeah.
So it's just, it's hard to say what's right for one is not right for somebody else. That's a hard seesaw to be
Absolutely.
on.
And would this be a bad time for me to answer what Commissioner McGurk mentioned about the, okay, so I was glad that you brought that up. So as you've heard, the last car show ran so poorly that the businesses became so unhappy. I got complaints, I swear to you, almost every day. It took them a year to get the businesses to take notice that things were changing, and they did. But a year, that's how bad it was. They didn't care if the car show left. It was not good for them.
I remember.
So, so thank you for that. And now they are in support of the car show as a community event. So, thank you.
Liz, will you also, the last meeting you were here, we mentioned that the Canal Street Business Association did not support the car show funding this year, but now they do.
Yes, we also want to be a sponsor of the event, as do some of our members. The restaurants really are they get the most benefit financially. And so some of them do want to sponsor this also. And we do have other members that want to sponsor. So yeah, we've
It's a great thing, and that's what's more traditionally done with the street fairs that are
Right.
such great benefit. And I know the changes. I mean, they've been fantastic.
Huge.
It's a great show. But traditionally also, the vendors that, profit from it are also the ones that financially support it.
Right.
And so I don't like to be put in an awkward position where I have to say, yeah, you guys have to pay, but they don't. Oh, yeah, even though you're bringing the same number of people to the street,
Right.
you pay, they don't. That's an awkward place to be.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Just the last one, have you considered doing something like charging $5 or $10 a car?
So one thing I want to go back and address, excuse me, it's the same number of people that every event brings. We are monthly, so the 1,000 people that are on Flagler tonight for Mardi Gras, we bring that 1,000 every month. So you're looking at about a 12,000 people benefit to the city. So I just wanted to
No,
clarify
I
that.
understood that, but we've got, it's not just tonight. I mean, there's monthly things. As we
Understood.
know, we're a busy town with great things going on.
Any other questions?
Okay. So then the last question, have we considered paying or charging a fee? Logistically, so for two reasons. One is that that's not traditionally how car shows operate. You don't see people bring their cars for a fee other than in the very high end, the concours and where really beautiful cars are. Secondly, the logistics of that would make it very, very dangerous and improbable to try to stop cars on US 1 coming down onto Canal Street and leaning into windows and collecting $5 here and $3 there. So yes, we've considered it, and no, it's not an option.
Any more? No. Commissioner Hartman.
So I thank you for what you've done. You've done what what I asked you to do back in January, was go back out to the businesses and bring your support and bring the information back to us. Because I think the earlier presentation, I certainly was confused with some of the terminology that we were using and how this was going to set up. I think the difference between what you're doing and what other events we're doing, and what I wanted to make sure I clearly understood, was that you are unique in what you do. You're not like what's going on Flagler. You're not like what, happens during the art festival and things like that. So you're a unique organization and a unique business. So I certainly could support a fee waiver going forward. My issue is that on tonight's agenda, this is a presentation. So I think that when this come back before us, when it's scheduled to come back before us, I think that's the time that we should have the open discussion and make any motions or take any action or business, because this is simply a presentation at this point in time. So that's why I'm a little confused as to.
So I think, yeah, I appreciate that. And there's nothing that restricts us from doing anything we want. If it's, we've had this group before us 3 or 4 times, and we know what the issue is. And so I look to the city attorney. There's no prohibition against us deciding if we wanted to vote on this issue, is there?
As long as we gave the public an opportunity to speak, we could vote on it.
Got it. If you're here for to speak about the car show, would you please rise, just stand? Let's get a feel for what that looks like. Okay. All right. Good enough. With the indulgence of the commission, would you like to hear what they have to say, or?
So I would I mean, we kind of know this thing,
Yeah.
and I don't want to keep it coming back.
Would you like to make a motion,
So if we can get this
sir?
thing possibly wrapped up and even voted on tonight, I
Great.
would prefer to do that.
The chair would entertain a motion. Commissioner McGurk, you want to do it?
To,
Motion for whatever you'd like.
well, we have to open it up to the public.
We can. We can do it right
Yeah,
after
well,
we.
I'd like to get it open. I think do you need
We'll
a
open
motion
it.
to open it up for the public?
Let's do that.
Yeah, make a motion to open up for public participation.
Great. I have a motion for public participation. That's not what I anticipated, but that's all right.
I thought we needed.
Without objection. Without objection to having public participation? Great. Proceed. You'll have 3 minutes. This is a monologue, not a dialogue. Please state your name and address for the record. And when you see the yellow light, you have 1 minute remaining. When you see the red light, you'll be finished. Thank you so much.
Hello, thank you all for being here and for listening to all of us. Bobby Worth, Worth Gallery, 304 Canal Street. In support of the car show, it is unusual. It brings families, and they come out for the whole afternoon. So we may not be making sales in our stores right then, but the people will come back. From a marketing aspect, from being a business, it brings people that wouldn't normally come to Canal Street, and it brings them and gives them a reason to stay on the street for hours and see everything that's on the street, not just go to where they're going to visit. It's also because the art festivals, they're paying to be there, and they're selling, they're making money. That's not what the car show does, but it brings people, and really good family people, to our street and for our businesses. So I hope that you can find a way we can make it stay.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate your comments. Anyone else?
Hi, Jeanette Graham. I just have a quick comment on Commissioner Martin's about comparing events on Canal to Flagler. Beachside, we're beating people away. And so I don't think you can compare fairly events that are put on in Flagler with events on Canal, because it's a harder draw to bring them to Canal. That was my only
Thank you,
comment.
ma'am. Appreciate your comments. Dr. Herman, welcome.
Angie Beretta Herman, 108 Esther Street. I do not own a fancy car, although I do really appreciate them. What I'm more interested in is the Canal Street Car Show is a community event sponsored by people who are interested in cars. There's no profit, no money exchange. It basically is a bunch of volunteers getting together and doing something for the community, which to me is the most important aspect of this proposal. And I really support the idea that it should be just continued, because these are people lots of people coming out who are willing to, in fact, have the car show. So I hope that you will support them and continue the tradition. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate your comments. Anyone else? Mr. Eisen, welcome.
Good evening, Mayor, City Manager, City Council members, City Attorney, and City Clerk. I think I heard it best by Commissioner McGurth, who said, based on the conversation today, the conversation we had last month, I would hope that the City Commission would just say, 1-year waiver, we'll revisit it. If the positive things that has happened this last year continue to happen, I think it's just a win-win for the city. You know, I actually helped our friends that put this on Saturday, and I think I saw ages from 2 months to one participant. I think he was 92 years old and was still driving his 55 T-Bird. And he absolutely, I saw the joy in his face, him and his wife that came. You know, that's irreplaceable. It really is. So please, hopefully, Commissioner McGurk, I think, said it best. And if we could just get a pass for another year, let's come back and see if it even gets better. I think it will. Thank you so much for your time this evening.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your remarks. Mr. Gatchell.
So just follow up on the question about the surplus with leisure services. From the information that I looked at, the line item is combined recreation and leisure services. That's where you get the underrun of $692,000. Whether that's attributable, how much of that is attributable or not attributable to leisure services is something that you'd have to dig down into the FY22 data to look at it. So that's probably why the number was surprising to you.
Thank you, sir.
Sure.
Anyone else? Seeing none, public participation is now closed. The chair would entertain a motion to either continue to allow the car show to operate or to charge them money.
Here's where I'm at. I think they've earned a year. Commissioner Pratt, Vice Mayor, I think you talked about there's been some money raised. So I think that what I would like to see done is we waive the fee for another year. They're on notice. They have something to start working with. And they know that throughout this next year, the goal is for them to be able to not have to come back to us and fund the car show. And they have a year to get all that funding set up. So hopefully it's nice and smooth and it'll be an easy transition. So with that, I'm going to make a motion to approve the waiving of the $500 monthly fee for this year.
Thank you, sir. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Can we discuss that?
Yes, oh, we sure can, if there's a second. Is there a second? For discussion, I will second it. Okay, and now, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Oh.
So my only concern with this is we did go to those sponsors and we have $5,000 worth of sponsorship money on the table right now. Canal Street Business Association are the main benefactors of this. And they have, actually, I've gone to them twice since our last meeting because the original answer was no, then a small amount, and then they upped that amount. So now that almost like, how are we going to go back and undo all the things that we just did the last 2 months? So I appreciate you wanting to do full amount, but we also got letters from taxpayers saying they don't want to fund 100% of this because it's taxpayer money and that everyone should have some skin in it. So even some of the sponsors said that to me, that they don't want taxpayers to have to fund all this. So it's a small amount. I mean, we do things like this all the time. So to me, it's not about the $6,500. To me, it's about all of these people rallying around wanting to save this car show, and by proving it, they gave not only words saying, I support this, because when I said that, I'm like, good, financially, what are you going to support? You know, because why should 32,000 people support this when we have people that benefited from it directly willing to support it? and you're just walking away leaving that money on the table. So that's why I suggested 50%, and then there's still going to be money left over because it's $6,500, and if we do 50%, that's $3,000. We got $5,000 in sponsors. That's $8,000. Not correct?
Anybody else? Any other comments?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Commissioner Martin.
I have some problems with us voting on an issue when there was no clarity in the agenda about this being voted on, and so there really isn't a chance for any opposition to come out and say anything. So sort of on the principle of that, and again, I don't know how to explain to some people that yes, they have to pay, but no, these people don't. So I think there's a compromise, but those are the two answers that are questions that are going to be put to me. And I have a difficulty dealing with this tonight when we really haven't properly noticed it.
Got it. Anybody else with a comment or question? Commissioner Hartman.
So that's also my concern that I would ask the city attorney. From a procedural standpoint, is this proper? And should it be done tonight, or should it come back to us at a future agenda as an agenda item that's been advertised and we take action at that point in time?
So it can be done.
Okay.
If there were people who objected and wanted to show up at the next meeting, we would need to open it back up. But can it be done? Yes. Should it be done that way? Different question.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. Any other comments? I have a, go ahead. Yes, sir.
So I believe we had a previous motion back in January where we granted them a 3-month extension to come back to us, which means they would have to come back to us before the April. Do we have the previous motion? Okay. I think there was a previous motion that gave them a 3-month extension or through the first quarter or something like that to come back before us at that point in time as an agenda item. So that's my concern is not necessarily whether or not to waive the fees, but I'm voting on something that I don't have written in front of me and don't have a true, clear understanding of what we mean or what we're talking about. I'd rather it come back as an agenda item at the future meeting.
Any other comments? I have a few. Unlike every other event on this agenda for a special approval, which have the participants gaining money and exchanging money for their services, the Seafood Festival vendors will get money. The art show people will get money. The beachside food festival vendors will get money. So there's a revenue proposition there. This is not that case. Second point, the main benefit of this is not those folks on the businesses on Canal. That's a byproduct of this. It's not the focus. Let's bring cars so people will come to our restaurants and buy food. It was not that at all. That happens to be a byproduct. This, if anything, in my view, is a 20-some year tradition that weaves the diverse tapestry of our community and as a brand that we know and love, and people come for that. The byproduct is they stay at our hotels, they shop in our stores, and they eat in our restaurants. There are other expenses, I think Mr. Caswell or Mr. Gatchell might have brought up upwards of $10,000 or $12,000 a year, which are the operating expenses that they incur from doing this. I think I may not have the number right, but the difference is these are operating expenses to put on the show. Others that have a fee, and I've seen them tonight, they get 2 or 3 or 4 police officers that are on duty, and they charge That's an expense for the city. There's several other expenses to the city. This is not the case there. I think they have 2 volunteers that are either former police officers or have some kind of training and are allowed to drive the Citizens on Patrol car and place them in certain places. So yeah, there's probably depreciation and gas to drive 2 miles to the show, but it's not a huge expense. The last piece is probably in favor of expedition. It's not like this is a surprise. Commissioner McGurk said we've had these people here 2 or 3 times. They came back early. We gave them a stay through April, as Commissioner Hartman pointed out. They're here early because they've done their homework early and turned in their work about how well it's running for the city. Preponderance of people in the room, those folks that stood up are residents here, and you hear this outcry. So to that, I speak in favor of it, and would, with the city attorney's admonishment that this is something that can be voted on. We have a motion and a second, and I would speak in favor of it for my colleagues on the dais. We've all had a discussion, Madam City Clerk.
I have another. Should the motion die tonight, they're still active until the April deadline that they were given. Okay.
What happens then, though?
Well, then it's properly, procedurally been vetted, it's been announced, it's been published, and we have...
It would go back on the agenda?
Back on the agenda,
Got it.
and it would come before us in a proper manner.
Got it.
And that's my only objection to it. I support the car show and don't have a problem with that, but my issue is, from a procedural standpoint, I don't think this is the way or the time to do this, that it should come before us, as any other event would come before us, on with a published agenda, and, you know, can be discussed at that point in time. It's not going to change my vote, but
Got it.
I just have, I'm a procedure guy, so I have an issue.
Mr. Mayor, if
Sir.
I may, I would suggest that since this is a presentation, that we bring it as an agenda item for the next meeting for a vote.
Appreciate the input. Thank you for your wisdom. Madam Assistant City Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Martin,
No.
Vice Mayor Perine,
This is for what you just said?
No.
No.
This is for the motion, which is to have this go forward for another 12 months.
No, there's a motion on the floor that I made, that was seconded to go ahead
We
and
didn't
pass it
second
tonight to
that.
waive the
Yes,
fees.
yes, that's what I tried to say.
I misunderstood myself.
Will you repeat the motion, please?
The motion is to waive the $500 monthly fee for this year.
Does that include the $500 month building fee as well, or just the $500?
There's a total fee, there's operating expense fees that they deal with, and then there's about a $500 monthly fee that the city requires them to pay. And that's what I'm asking to be waived.
Because we have 2 fees that we charge.
Well, I think it was a total of about $500 a month, as I understood correctly.
There is $500 a month and then plus $550 for the building.
Okay, so I think part of that $550 was the part of the operating expense fee that they deal with. So this is not, so what I'm asking, this is not for both. This is for the $500 monthly fee that they incur. I think it's more of a special event fee, and then the other one's the building fee. And so ultimately, they are actually, if we voted for this, then it is splitting it. But because there's multiple fees that they pay.
Are you clear now on which?
No, because it's not splitting. The one is a one-time annual fee, I believe. The other one's a monthly fee.
Square me away on this, City Clerk. The motion, if I heard it, was to waive the $500 a month fee. That was it. Whatever those other fees are, still stand.
correct.
And your vote now, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay.
Commissioner McGurk,
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman,
No.
Mayor Cleveland.
Yes. Thank you very much. Appreciate the indulgence. So there's 3-2, yeah? Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you, guys. I'm going to win my bet, Mr. Rashadat. bet on the length of the meeting. And now, sir, your report.
Yes, sir, thank you. I'll try to be short, but myself, the assistant city manager, the police chief, fire chief, and the maintenance operation director met with the new emergency manager for the county 2 weeks ago. As a new manager, we wanted to make sure that our relationship and our collaboration is still on good term. So we had a good discussion with him, and we will continue our relationship with the county and the emergency manager. Staff and I met with Frampton North LLC. This is for Innovation Park. It's on schedule, and they will submit their planning application in mid-February, probably in a couple of days. The mayor and I, we traveled to Tallahassee, and I will let the mayor go into details under the mayor business. We also have the 120 Flagler. It's out, so the RFP is out, and we expected the RFP to be submitted on Thursday. I have directed the purchasing agent, if we don't see any major activities going on the bids, that we will extend the bid. Right now, it looks like we might have 2 bids, but possibly more. So probably tomorrow we'll decide if we want to extend or not. That's this Thursday, it's expected, but I might extend it. The Women's Club is out. The RFPs are due on February the 28th. And again, I have directed them, if I don't see any major activity, to extend the RFP. The 5th Street Bridge, if you haven't seen it, the temporary bridge is active. And immediately they will start on demolishing the old bridge and building it. So we're expecting the completion of the bridge sometime in October. The Barracuda Bridge, we have received a couple of emails from residents in the Coyasisi area. They're concerning about that it might not be completed on time. However, I was assured by our city engineer that they are on track. We have a CEI that works for DOT that it's actually monitoring the project. So we're expecting it to be done in June of 2024. A couple of other like handicap ramps on Mary Ann Clancy. It's nearing the completion in terms of the construction. And also we're still struggling with the hazard mitigation grants for the projects. Some of it are elevation and demo and rebuild. We're still waiting on FEMA for their response to us. FDEM has approved it, but FEMA is the one I got on the call with FDEM, and they would not commit a time because they couldn't speak for FEMA. A couple of other items that I need to bring to your attention is the crushing concrete. Just for the records, we did 2 tests on sites. One was for the noise and for the dust, and we did one for the silica. None has come up with any significant issues there. There were some questions from residents in the area asking us if we monitor the noise and the dust, and we do. Code enforcement is actually out there almost on a daily basis. For the last 18 months, we were out there testing almost 300 times from code enforcement. We keep monitoring the situation in terms of the noise and the dust as well. We have asked the Hazen Construction to do, I think they added something to their equipment to minimize the noise. It has reduced the noise a little bit, but still I think on the south side of the site, there is some noise issue, but it hasn't exceeded the level. We're still in talk with them to see if there is something else that they could do, maybe with the buffer, with the wall. They have installed a fence, but I don't think it's enough in terms of quieting the noise completely. Obviously, it's in the middle of residential area. It's a mixed use, it's an industrial zone. So it's pretty difficult to, just the noise from the beeping when they are in operating, it's even louder than the actual noise of the crushing. The other issue I want to update you on is the city manager search. As you know, the consultant has met with all of you, met with staff, and will be meeting with the stakeholders as well and community. Right now, it looks like by May, between 6th and 10th, that you will have your face-to-face interviews. So which means they will go through the process, shortlisting the candidates. They will do some videos with the candidates as well. And then finally, they will shortlist, give you the candidates, and have the face-to-face interviews made between 6th and the 10th. At the last meeting, we had 2 public participants. The one item that it's probably not actions, but I would like to respond to some of these comments. They were all concerns the Cooper Street vacation. So one of the items, she's saying that the participant who spoke about it, she was saying that it creates a lot of misunderstanding and gaps when applicant attorneys introduce new exhibits during planning and zoning board meetings. And I kind of agree. The only thing is that does not happen often. In this particular case, there was some information that it happened that the attorney got after the staff report was provided and they provided at the meeting. So it doesn't happen often, but I agree with the comments. The second comment is that suggests if applicant is truly with a lot of late-breaking information, then maybe that item belongs to the next agenda. I agree with that, and I think we will consider that in the future. If there's something happen, we will move it on to the next agenda. The third item was the concerned zoning matters are only between the city and applicants, and the applicant has no place to contribute outside public meetings. Also, that the city's legal representation is only through the board and our attorney. Well, citizens have, if they have any concerns, they have their elected officials to send their concerns to, and also to staff. And I think all of you have received a lot of concerns from citizens, and you bring them to our attention, or you bring them to the city commission meeting. So that's an avenue for citizens to bring their concerns. The public could bring their concerns. So that's, I disagree with that comment. They're worried about there will be no further research into how restrictive the Detweiler deed is and whether street vacation is the proper procedure to follow. Well, our legal staff and our planning staff did the research, will continue to do the research for a public dedicated right-of-way. The only way to do it is to actually vacate the right-of-way. It's not a city that, it's not a property that the city owned. It's a dedicated public right-of-way. If there is no public use for it, then it has to refer back to the property owners. The last comment was uneasy. There is only a commitment to provide an easement for this famous walkway and none to build or maintain. I think it's probably will be talking if the commission is willing to do that. I think we will talk to their attorney that let's just forget about this boardwalk completely because it's creating a lot of issue. Who's going to build it? Who's going to maintain it? I think the idea was to provide an easement for the boardwalk. But if the commission is willing to do that, I will be willing to talk to the attorney and let's just move it out of the picture. So this way it's no confusion for that. That's all I got, Mayor, if you have any questions.
Any questions for the city manager on his report? Very good. Yes, sir.
So you're going to ask them to do away with the easement for the boardwalk?
They could provide the easements, but I think it's just the whole idea about the boardwalk. This is something that Commissioner Martin brought during the briefing, and I kind of agree with her because it's just creating a lot of questions, a lot of confusion from the public, and it just to be clear, let's just take it off. They could maybe just leave the easement, and I think will be probably a better off for us. So.
Right, I mean, I understood that it was conceptual plan and that, you know, this was something that could be done, but certainly I would want to keep the easement because at some point in time, you know, we or someone else may want to do that, and that easement will be an important part that if we have it now, to keep it for the time being and until such time as you know, it's done or not. Whoever builds the walkway, you know, it may be something that the state and or the county may be interested in at some point in time. So the easement is an important part of this. So certainly we need to keep that easement.
I agree with that.
Any other questions for
And
the city manager?
Mayor, just
Yes,
before I
please,
forget,
go right ahead.
there was one more update that I want to update you
Sure.
on, is the parking task force. So our assistant city manager will give you an update on that one.
Thank you. We've had two meetings of with the consultant. The first was a kickoff meeting with the consultant and their team and staff representation to go over the process, to understand each other's roles. The actual first working meeting was held today with the consultant and the planning staff to review planning regulations, parking regulations, and other issues in relation to our land development regulations addressing parking issues. So we're going to continue to have follow-up meetings with the consultant, with various groups throughout the city, both public groups and other staff groups, and we'll be providing bi-weekly updates on the progress.
And Mayor, also on that particular item too, is if you recall from his proposal, the schedule for it is about 8 months. However, as we have progress meeting with him, if there's any item that comes up that it might be bringing up to the commission that we could take an action on, we bring it on shortly. So just want to let you know that we'll do that.
Great. Any other questions or comments for the city manager? And thank you for the assistant city manager's report on something all of citizens are interested in. Keep those coming. I think that's a great service. Okay. Very good. Thank you so much. So we'll now open to public participation. If there's any citizen who wishes to speak, please come and approach the podium. You'll have 3 minutes to address the commission at this time. I'd like to remind you it is a monologue, not a dialogue. We will not answer questions, but I assure you the city clerk and city manager are taking notes, and we will get back in touch with you if the appropriate thing to do. You have 3 minutes. You'll see a green light, then a yellow light at 1 minute to go, and then a red light when you're done. Please come forward, your name and address for the record, if you don't mind. Ms. Atherin.
Donna Atherin, 684 Corbin Park Road, New Smyrna Beach. On the 19th of February, our Turnbull Creek Preservation Board will be meeting again and starting our second term, 2-year term. Our board has been able to accomplish what's been asked of us to buy land under the conservation bill. The bond issue that was issued to us still has $6 million remaining on it. We can continue to find lands and recommend those purchases. We were able to find a cost share of monies of $1.6 million that has been secured by USDA to improve on the drainage system of the Turnbull Creek watershed. Great big accomplishment. The creek has been proven as a part of our stormwater management system and a very large part of what the city is planning for on our resilience plan. This is very good reading. I've enjoyed going through every page of this resilience plan from 2018. Very useful piece. I believe that we have more opportunities in our board to continue to help the city with additional direction. And to incorporate quality of life measures adopted into the city's strategic plan that was adopted in December of 2022. Moving forward, we would like to continue the opportunity to purchase lands and make priority recommendations to the commission, work with staff to research and recommend grants and other funding for maintenance and stormwater resilience plan for the city. Also to recommend the commission, to recommend to the commission ways to use the land under the Conservation Resource Corridor for public education. We believe that this is a good start to moving forward. This additional direction will accomplish a large opportunity for the city to have us finding funds and monies available from sources you wouldn't normally look for. Our team is very good at that, working with historical systems and to help with locating other partners that can go in and help us with getting that creek cleaned out and maintain the ecosystem. So what do we do next? You have to give our board the direction. Would you like us to discuss this further in a workshop later on, or would you like to give direction to staff to have us draft a new resolution for our board? I'll leave it up to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that, Donna, and for your work on the city's behalf. Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Mayor, City Commission, and staff. I'm Bob Williams, 767 Pine Shore Circle here in New Smyrna Beach. I'm privileged to give you an update today on the annual homeless point in time count that occurred last month. The point in time count is a requirement of the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. It's organized by our local Continuum of Care organization known as the Volusia-Flagler County's Coalition for the Homeless. The results of the point-in-time count are used by HUD to allocate restricted grant funds for various programs for the homeless, including rapid rehousing, domestic violence, family supportive services, and coordinated entry services. Last year, the Volusia-Flagler Coalition participating agencies received approximately $2.5 million from HUD. The need is great, and these funds have been a great help to our community. These programs not only help the homeless in need, but also help all our residents and the businesses by reducing the suffering and public safety issues associated with homelessness. I want to thank the 15 volunteers that helped with this year's count. The count involves engaging and completing a list of survey questions with the homeless individuals in our community. This year was the most successful count for New Smyrna that I have seen in the decade that I've been working with the program. The final results of the survey are expected to be published in April. This success would not have been possible without the help and support of the New Smyrna Beach Police Department Community Outreach Team. They played a pivotal role in gathering the information necessary to effectively deploy the volunteers to conduct the surveys. From my experience working on the board of the Homeless Coalition, I believe New Smyrna Beach is developing a model program for addressing this important community need. As part of that, I want to commend the city for investing in First Step Shelter to give people a path out of homelessness. I want to thank Chief Feldman, Mr. Rashadat, for organizing and staffing this team, and I want to thank this commission for your vision in supporting the funding for this initiative. Thank you all for all that you are doing.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your comments.
Good evening, everyone. This is Angie Beretta Herman, 108 Esther Street. I'm here just to announce the 6th annual Charming Home Tour, which is going to happen on March 21st. You know, it is the only fundraiser for the new NSB Residents Coalition. Our $30 tickets are available on PayPal and our website. This year we're featuring 6 homes on the beach side. We haven't done the beach side since 2018. And I'm really almost just so pleased with the response that we've been receiving on the home tour. We have sold almost 1/3 of our 400 tickets already, and we're about 8 weeks away. People have come forward, are interested in the home tour, what are the homes, and can't wait to take part in our event. We are going to have shuttles because we are showing homes at the one in the north end of the island as well as around the Flagler area. So I think the response that we received to the home tour is a really good evidence of the interest and the support for historic preservation in our city. And I'm hoping that you think about this kind of community response to this event as you make your decisions about 120 Flagler, when you think about the Women's Club and we start to debate about the issues of Chapter 50. So I really ask you to think very carefully about that. Some of you have also, I have to put a plug in for our booklet that we put together, which features the home from 2018 to 2021, the 19 homes that we featured. It includes pictures of the homes and a description of the home. We actually have 2 volunteers who are now putting together the last 3 home tours, and that will be published soon. So we just want to let you know what's available, and I urge you to continue to support historic preservation in our city. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate your comments. Ms. Caswell.
Me again. Jana Caswell, 1104 North Peninsula Avenue. That was painful. And I just wanted to say thank you to all of you whose time we have taken up to consider what we had to say, to listen to us. And as a taxpayer and a citizen, I appreciate the very good discussion that was had to represent the interests of all of us. So I just wanted to thank you for your time. As just an anecdote, I had a very dear friend, someone who knows me very well, asked me the other day that this represents a ton of work for you. Are you sure? Be honest with me. Are you sure you want to do this, or do you just want to win? And the unqualified answer is, we want to do this. It does represent a ton of work for us. We love the community. We love being out there, and we love seeing what this does for the history of our town and for a sense of community. And we're grateful for your support and being able to continue it. I promise you it's in good hands, and we will take your interests to heart and represent you well. So thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate your comments.
Hello, Katie Liller, 461 Wildwood Drive. I'm just here to thank you all because the skate park has received our new building, and I just want you to know how grateful the skate park community is. And I hope that when it's all finished and opened, you'll come and see all the kids' smiling faces this summer when they're in a beautiful new air-conditioned, clean building for their camps and all of the things. So thank you so much. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your comments. Anyone else for public participation? Seeing none, public participation is now closed. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Does any member of the commission wish to comment on any of the items? Not remove it, but comment. The city manager is going to comment on 7E and 7F. Anybody else wish to comment on any of the items? Sir.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of things that I know some of you had some concerns about 7E, and that is the approval of the interlocal agreements with the city of Edgewater regarding providing a building official services to them. Typically what happens is a lot of the cities, we do have interlocal agreements that we provide service when in need to other city. So we exchange services. I know when I was approached by the city manager for this particular request, I had a couple of concerns. So I reached out to the building official. I know our permits have probably, I would say, dropped 15% from previously. I wanted to make sure that our services is provided. So right now, currently, our commercial buildings is taking about 2 weeks. Our residential is taken between 7 to 10 days. Our small permits is taken between 2 to 5 days. So I have mentioned to the building official that if I see any significant production level in our services, that I will stop it. And I mentioned that to the city manager today during a phone conversation with him. They don't have an inspector on staff. However, they are providing their inspection through a private company. So our building official and our deputy building official, they provide services as a dual. They kind of rotate on it. And the expectation is it's right now they have their building official, it's about 3 days a week, 4 hours a day. So we're looking about 12 hours between Gary and his assistant and his deputy. So at this point, I don't have any major concerns. The other concern is the liability. And so while he is working in Edgewater, he will be under their umbrella. So I don't see any issues there if they are sued or something happened there. So that's the only two concerns that I had and you guys have. So I want to make sure that you guys understand this. So any other questions?
Thank you for making that public. Any questions about that?
Just a comment, if I might?
Yes, ma'am.
I believe that these interlocal type agreements are fairly common when one city is in need
Yes, ma'am.
temporarily. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
How long was this one proposed for, Carl? I can't remember.
At this point, they are looking for a building official, so the expectation is probably 3 to 6 months possibly, but if they find somebody earlier, I mean, that will stop.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Were you going to comment on F, Foxtrot, as well?
If you are ready, yes.
Yes, for
sir.
your comment, sir.
Yes, thank you. This is as a result of the joint meeting between the City Commission and the NSP Utilities regarding the septic to sewer project. And I recall from the meeting that we are joining the proposal with the NSP Utilities for $281,000. However, I think it was Vice Mayor Perrine I think she was concerned at that meeting that we want to pay $281,000, which if that doesn't happen or it doesn't go. However, in order for me to gauge interests in the neighborhood, I need to have conceptual design, cost estimate, and so forth. So that's really the task that I'm looking for. So we don't pay the 281 upfront. What we do is we pay for services as we go. I have asked the consultant today to provide an estimate for me in terms of the conceptual design and having the community outreach. And to gauge the interest, it's between $20,000 to $25,000. And that will be, we need that in order to proceed with the design anyway. The idea there is if I have the design, what it does, it gives us a better chance and opportunity when we apply for grants because then it's a shovel-ready project. So I just want to make sure that I think it was Vice Mayor who asked me, and I think maybe the mayor asked me how much would it be. So my estimate was about $15,000. When I talked to him today, he said probably between $20,000 to $25,000. That's the probably. And again, we would not pay him up front. We will pay him as services happen. So
Appreciate your assuaging our concerns, and the Vice Mayor commend for keeping your eagle eye on the finances. That was well placed. Just two comments on the item 7, India, which appears to be an initial permit for the Art Fiesta, which is on the doorstep. It actually is an addendum to it to close 2 additional streets. We actually approved that several meetings ago. So, just for the record, and I commend Rob and Director Salazar, that is, for trying to get these permits in quicker and so that we don't have the 11th hour decision to make. Similarly, item 7, Lima, that Juneteenth celebration is a budgeted item. It's actually sponsored by the city, so I appreciate that. Without any other polls or objections, anybody would like to pull any item off of the agenda?
7J,
7 Juliet, got it?
7K,
Okay.
and 7M.
7 Mike. Okay, anybody else? Okay, so can I have then a motion to approve?
So moved.
I'll get there in a minute. Item 7A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, L. That's it.
So moved.
And a motion.
Second.
And a second. Madam City Clerk. please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Perine,
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk,
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman,
Yes.
Commissioner Martin,
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland.
Yes, thank you so much. Let's take up item 7, Juliet, which is consideration of the New Smyrna Beach Food Festival for 2024 on Thursday, April 18th.
Well, actually, I can speak to all three items because all three items have the same concern. As I mentioned earlier, from a procedural standpoint, these applications were submitted by someone, signed by someone else, and that signature that the person used was actually a 2012 signature done by DocuSign. So my concern is that our paperwork is not in order, and that I would make a motion to take these three items and push them back to the next agenda on our next meeting, so that the paperwork can get cleared up and that we can be in good accordance, I think, with procedure. And my concern is whether or not they're actually a legitimate or legal document, so.
Interesting. Okay, so that's a good conversation, and I think, Rob, you've actually contemplated adjusting your application because you wanted to modernize it and do things with it. If you'd like to address any of that.
Absolutely. So, first of all, thank you for the opportunity to speak on this commission. I spoke with our city manager about this morning, and we are in the process of efforting to transition to an online special events permit application process to ensure that this oversight on our end isn't a reoccurring issue. So let me back up. The oversight comment I just made is in reference to putting the old application on the agenda. We have amended, signed contracts with FABA with matching signatures that have been updated. So we have those in the office.
Okay.
However, we have the old application on file. In review, that was caught, and we went to FABA to get the matching signatures. So we have those on reference, but that's not what was presented to you. However, speaking to that, those applications with the old signature should not be being submitted initially when they come to us. So that's why the effort to the online system is being made, or partially why. So that's the big picture snapshot of it. Yeah.
Does that help?
It helps. So if you have good contracts in your office, then I'll make a motion to approve 7J, 7K, and 7F.
Also, may I have a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you very much. More discussion. I wanted to commend Director Salazar for your continued upgrading of the Leisure Services Organization. This is one of many steps in a lot of areas that you're taking. Thank you very much, Rob, for all your work. Any other discussion? Madam Assistant City Clerk, please call the roll. This is for items 7J, K, and M for approval.
Commissioner McGurk,
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Martin. I'm sorry, Commissioner Martin.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Perine,
Yes.
and Mayor Cleveland.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. The consent agenda is approved. We have no administrative or new business items, and now we'll go on to the first readings. If the city attorney, would read ordinance number 0924 for the first time by title only. The second reading will be, and public hearing will be conducted on February 27th, 2024 at the regular commission meeting.
Ordinance number 0924, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach vacating a portion of platted right-of-way in the J.Y. Detweiler subdivision, generally located south of 3rd Avenue and west of Saxon Drive, providing for conflicting ordinances and providing for an effective date. I believe we have some commission comments tonight. As I've mentioned to each of you, that this particular ordinance will only vacate the right-of-way on the piece of land that's closest to 3rd Avenue. The other piece of land that was conveyed to the city with the restriction of a public street or road, that release, we have received a release of that condition. So the city will own it with no restrictions contingent upon vacation of the right-of-way of the northerly parcel. And with that, we have a
Thank
few
you, ma'am.
commission
Appreciate that. Are there any comments or questions from the commissioner? Commissioner Martin?
This has been a contentious issue with much public input. As a Class 2 site plan, it would normally be staff approval only. To demonstrate our transparency, could I get, please, commission consensus to have the final site brought in front of the commission for approval?
When you say the finals, I'm not following. What are you
Okay,
talking
the site plan, when we put it, what we see, what's been presented to us is not the final site plan. It's still a conceptual plan. And it will have to be done, you know, there's DEP approvals to be gotten, there's stormwater considerations, there's a whole bunch of other things that they can't really do until they have the property. And as we all know, as we've seen projects morph a lot through our years, the site plan can change. And so it's just simply because this is a relatively small area and normally would get staff, right, you know, what do you call it, sign off only. It is so contentious. We have received so much mail about it. Just for transparency's sake, I would ask that we say, let's bring the final in front of the commission for approval.
The what in front of
The final site plan.
Site plan, got it.
Yeah.
And that's not the normal? That's not the norm?
No, because
Okay.
it's a Class 2 site plan right now, which is staff approval level.
So maybe we can get some guidance from Mr. Mason on what the protocol normally is and how this goes. And I don't see any problem with doing that, but give us some education, Bob, on how this normally would happen.
Well, based on the site plan itself, the final site plan has multiple avenues can happen depending on the size of the site plan. This one here has been determined it would be a Class 2, so it would be the staff approval letter. So you would have all the departments of the city, including Utilities Commission, review and approve. If it's carried up to a Class 3, then it goes to the Planning and Zoning Board, but right now it doesn't meet that criteria. So if you wanted it to come back to City Commission, that would be something at your privy, but it would not be something in the LDR that would normally come back to you.
Got it, but that's because of the size, yeah?
Correct.
All right, very good. So the protocol today is that the Class 2s and 3s, or A's and B's and C's, smaller ones are approved under your purview. And I think what Commissioner Martin is asking is let us deviate from the protocol. Let's change the procedure, and because of the contention by the residents that have been vocal, not, you know, those that have been vocal, no judgment on whether that's a majority or a few, that we change our procedure for this one time and bring the site plan. Is that what have I got it?
Well, I will say that this is not a unique request. There have been other times when the decision was made through the years to say, well, yeah, this is generally how we do it, but just to make everybody happy, let's bring it in front of the commission.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
it's not unique. It's certainly happened in other times.
Yep, I have not been witness to that. Is there a motion for that?
Okay, Randy.
So I hate to keep getting on this soapbox, but from a procedural standpoint, this ordinance is just simply to vacate the right-of-way. There's nothing that deals with site plans even before us here tonight. Now, if you want to bring that up under commission comments, then I certainly would support that if in fact there is a future site plan that deals with this, then certainly, and you want to see it, I don't have a problem with that. But with regards to the ordinance that's before us tonight, it only deals with the vacation of a right-of-way, period.
Mayor, if I may, I think what the Commissioner Martin is asking for, you know how we have right now, we have conditions that was stated in the issue itself. So in the past, we have added a condition if the commission wishes to say if it's a Class 2 site plan, which is mean that it's reviewed only by staff, that you'll say, hey, we would like to see the site plan coming back to the commission for approval. I think that's what she's asking. And to make it as one of the conditions, like we have conditions right now in the ordinance itself for vacating the right-of-way, that's what she's asking for.
So I would recommend that it become a part of the license agreement if that is the commission's will. And obviously, by putting it in the license agreement, you're not changing the rules for the applicant in terms of vacating a right-of-way and procedurally. So normally what we have with an MDA or that sort, they agree to that condition. So I would suggest putting it in the license agreement.
Which is separate from this, as Commissioner
Which will
Hartman
be an
points out.
adjacent item, like a companion item at the next city commission meeting.
So next meeting, you'll have two items. One is vacating the right-of-way, and the other one is the licensing agreement for the 10
Got
foots.
it. And so in the licensing agreement, your idea is to have that condition put in there that we bring it before the commission.
Correct, if
Okay.
that's the commission will.
Okay, so another bite at the apple. Any other comments?
So just-
Clarity, yes, sir. Commissioner McGirt?
Just some comments, some thoughts on it. We usually have done that with large projects where there were very clear and specific concerns about something. The other issue is you're asking for us to review the site plan, the entire site plan. And that's what you're asking for. I would not want to include the entire site plan as part of the condition that we approval. And that's what you're saying. Now, if we looked at that portion of the public right-of-way.
Which portion would you be discussing? It's not a big project to begin with. I mean, are you going to carve off like the little public gazebo?
Listen to what I'm saying.
Let's have
You're
some order here.
asking to review the site plan, which includes everything that has to do with the project. I think the public's concern is the vacation and that right-of-way area. So I would not want the commission to review the entire site plan. If the commission wanted to review that portion of the site plan that was the vacation, or not even the vacation, but what I'm trying to get from you is, what do you want to look at? Because I'm not in favor of looking at the entire site plan.
Well, I guess.
So before you answer that, let's let everybody go once, and then we'll go again. Vice Mayor, anything from you? Commissioner Hartman's gone. I said something. Now you can go.
Well, in response to Commissioner McGurk, the site plan usually comes after all the approvals have been received. And sometimes we have, well, we're almost there, so go ahead and start building. And
You can't start building without site plan approval.
That right, Robert?
Correct. We don't, what happens is once the site plan's approved, then they have a pre-construction meeting with the contractor and all the subs, and then they apply for their permit for the work.
And frequently that's the building permit, but there's the DEP and the St. John's, and we've seen many things come up where, all of this is done and we expect this next week, go ahead. And the only way that I can see to make sure and to satisfy just some of the hundreds of people that have, interchanges I've had, to get more community support is for the commission to be able to affirm that all the environmental permits have been received and signed off on before building starts. And there really shouldn't be any pushback about that, because if it's done in a correct fashion, it should be a nice, tidy little neat package that comes back and says, yep, here's the checklist, everything's done. What do you say, guys?
Any other comments from any commissioner? Mr. McGurk, go right ahead.
So getting clarification, Commissioner Martin, what I thought you wanted, with your concern and I've heard people's concern also about the public portion, public right-of-way. But and that's why I said, I can understand some concern of taking a look at what the plan may be there. But I think you just reiterated that you want to look at the entire site with all of the permits and make sure that all the environmental conditions are being met. And again, to clarify, you're talking about the entire site, not the public right-of-way portion that we're possibly vacating.
It's hard to sign, maybe we're having different definitions for site plan. I'm not including the properties for Ocean's Restaurant or Beach House. I am talking about the site plan that occurs on the vacated properties. So that's what, 175 feet by 175 feet total.
The site plan for the, I understand where you're talking about for that, that's good, the
Yeah,
clarification.
that's all I'm
talking
talking
about the whole parcel.
No, I'm not talking about Beach House and their 2 parcels. I am talking only about the parcel that's coming in front of us for
All right,
vacation.
So now I understand and I have clarity on that, and I think that now I think the staff said that the proper
Licensing
area to
agreement.
do that is the licensing agreement.
Just
clarity,
one-
ma'am?
One notation for the record, there is a state statute that says the city's approval cannot be contingent upon another agency's approval. So we can't hold somebody up because they don't have X, Y, or Z yet. So, but Bob, they wouldn't be able to build the gazebo unless they had those permits, if it's impacting, if they need a St. John's or whatever they need,
Right.
DEP, right?
Right, so any of the state permitting that's required by the city engineer's office, they may not hold that up for the approval of site plan, but they have to get a building permit, and they have to have those permits in place, just like with docks, you have to have state permits in place before we issue dock permits. But for the site plan itself, we can approve it with the contingent that they have to have these other agencies involved. And normally we get copies of their applications, so we know they're moving forward.
Any other questions for Mr. Mathan? I have a couple. You've now hired another additional staff member that has execution compliance, right?
That is correct.
And so now we have someone to act as sheriff and make sure it goes, which is, I think, Commissioner Martin's concern is that we don't want to get the cart before the horse. We want it to go as it was signed off to go and not ahead and not jump ahead, right? Okay.
Correct. We have a new sheriff, so they look after the fact, PUDs, things like that, make sure they're following the rules that was approved by this body.
After the fact. The concern is what building can take place while other things are while all the, those final little things are being dealt with.
It's actually, Commissioner Martin, it's supposed to be before the fact. That's why we hired this person.
Right.
Thank you.
As a matter of fact, they just did one on Venetian Bay, and I will be sharing with you that tomorrow. A very detailed report on the items in Venetian Bay. So the idea is exactly like this. If you have a licensing agreement with conditions, we want to make sure that these conditions are included when we issue the building permits. When we issue the site plan, these conditions are included and the staff is aware of it. So when the project happens and it's completed and he goes out there to check, then he knows that this is supposed to have 4 conditions. Here are the conditions. Have they met the requirement or not? And if they're not, then we shouldn't be issuing a certificate of completion or a CO until they have met these requirements.
So
that's the idea. That's the idea by having the compliance officer.
So for clarity, as I understand it, next time we meet, we will have 2 things to consider, licensing agreement and this
And
ordinance.
yes, sir.
Okay, very good. Is there a need, do you still want a motion?
I still think that, there are a lot of subtleties here that have a lot of people concerned, and that it would be, if only as a courtesy to the community, to simply come back for a final blessing by the commission.
Got it. Appreciate that. Is there a motion in that regard? No motion. Okay. So appreciate the concern, and it's a great dialogue back and forth. And Senior Planner, Mr. Mathan, can you, just in public, when we met first time, there was a no from you and your staff, and then we met the second time, and there became a yes. Can you kind of, just in plain words that I can understand, explain why it went from one direction to the other?
So with the original application, the original staff report that went to the Planning and Zoning Board, I actually had limited information of what their plans were and what they had thought they wanted to move forward with. So I didn't see a lot of public benefit in what they were proposing the first time around. After sitting down, we negotiated about 15 conditions that wasn't part of the original application. And so because they met the criteria that we felt was lacking, we moved our motion to recommend approval. And once it made it to the Planning and Zoning Board for a second time, they added 4 more criteria or conditions on their vote as well.
I got it. So in hindsight, if you'd have known all that ahead of time, it would have been different. And so maybe there's for our own procedural stuff, if there's new stuff that comes in, maybe you could come into the P&Z, you go, hey, time out. We have different game rules here. So it never ever should have gotten here. You guys could have come back, and maybe you and your team can commend that to the P&Z going forward. Anybody else?
I just have a
Yes, ma'am.
comment. I watched both P&Z dates about the vacate, and this last one, you did a great job explaining everything. The conditions made it clearer. I was confused the first time around. I don't know how I would have voted either. The second time was very clear, and I have everything set in my head. I do like what you're saying to put the conditions and let's follow them through. But thank you for all of that.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Bob. Appreciate that. Just in summary, the second reading for public hearing will be conducted on February 27th at the regular City Commission meeting. Let's move on to boards and commissions. There's one remaining vacancy in the Airport Advisory Board for a regular member to serve in an unfilled seat for a term of 3 years, expiring on September 9th, 2026. City Clerk had advertised the position, and their office recently received 2 applicants. There's 1 vacancy. Now open the floor for nominations for this vacancy. Any commissioner can nominate 1 applicant. If there's more than 1, we'll distribute ballots. Any nominations?
Chelly?
Pardon?
Go ahead.
Cheiley, Cheilly.
Okay.
Tim Cahill.
Okay. We both applicants have been nominated, and so Madam Assistant City Clerk, maybe you can just distribute the ballots and we'll vote. Shelley is not Shelley. Shelley. It's not Shelley. I see it. Oh, kind of. I got it.
Okay, for our Airport Advisory Board, we have Commissioner Hartman voted for Chaley Diaz. Commissioner McGurk voted for Timothy Caudill. Mayor Cleveland voted for Timothy Caudill. Commissioner Martin voted for Chaley Diaz, and Vice Mayor Perrine voted for Timothy Caudill. So Timothy Caudill will serve on the
Thank you so much. I appreciate that report. Congratulations, Mr. Caudill. The City Clerk's office will be in touch with your official notification. Thank you for stepping up and serving your city. Okay, now.
I just want to say that there were 2 very qualified people for that.
Yeah, amazing. Both had.
You know what's crazy is we'll have vacancies, and then all of a sudden we'll have, more people, 2 good candidates for 1 seat.
Yeah.
It's funny how that works.
Really, really good, and I'm delighted that they keep their name in the hat should there be another place to serve. I love that about our cities. Okay, now time for the mayor and commission reports, and so as has been our custom, we'll start with the vice mayor. Your report, ma'am.
I have a lengthy report here, and I'm not sure how we're going to do this, so I'm going to need some guidance from
Take
our
your time.
attorney. But I'm going to read this for the public, basically, because it's about Form 6. And in 1980, Florida amended the Florida Constitution, adopting Article 1, Section 23, right to privacy. Every natural person has the right to be let alone and free from governmental intrusion into a person's private life. Also, Article 1, Section 4 of the Florida Constitution protects the freedom of speech, which includes the right to choose what to say and what not to say. In 2023, Legislative Session Bill 774 was passed. This was after 3 of us were put on this board. To file Form 6, this requires us to identify and list all assets of value over $1,000. This also requires considerable details listing what bank accounts we have, including 401k investments, and etc., any household goods, anything. To make matters worse, our local newspaper, the Daytona Beach News Journal, published that info comparing our county council's assets to each other. The article published last fall was the Volusia County Council includes 3 millionaires Where do they make their money? They then rank the wealthiest to the least wealthy. None of these councilmen were women. I don't have a problem disclosing that we bring home $300 a week up here from our city paychecks. It's very obvious that we ran businesses or had corporate careers and past revenues that were not from municipal government jobs. So my itemized assets prior to me being elected on this board is none of business to the newspaper. I'm very happy to disclose to the IRS and continue to disclose on Form 1, but not even the President of the United States or Congress is required to make these kind of Form 6 disclosures. My safety is not being considered here at all. This is a total violation of our rights. They should have grandfathered us in. Actually, all 5 of us were in office before this Form 6 was put into place at the beginning of this year from last year. If they want us to disclose forward in a new term, so be it. But to enforce this after we're already elected for nosy newspaper people, then fine me or fire me. This is more government overreach and not transparency at all, and it is totally wrong. Had we known this, we may have not have run. Right now, there's 100 people that have quit over this Form 6. One city had the entire commission board leave. 22 cities have voted to join the lawsuit. 49 individual elected officials are now plaintiffs. They are filing this week, so it's urgent that we act tonight and vote. Normally, we don't do this during commission comments, but I will go forward in participating by myself if I don't get a consensus up here. I urge each of you to do so as well. It's not about transparency, it's about a violation of my rights. I would like to have your support and understanding on this.
So I appreciate that, and I'd like to understand more. What is it, the action that you'd like the commission to do? Can you be specific about that?
And I'm going to pass this to the attorney.
So maybe we could pull up our city attorney report here. So I had mentioned to you all, as Valley just summarized, so I don't need to go into great deal, but in 2023, they changed the law. You now have to file this very detailed financial disclosure, which puts you all at risk for, targeted by people. And, the Form 1 does the same thing as Form 6 in terms of like looking for conflicts of interest and all of that. So it's not the least restrictive means in order to serve that governmental purpose, which suggests it could be a violation of your constitutional rights. There is Weiss, Sirota, Healthman, Cole, and Bierman is a law firm with multiple offices throughout the state. They have this plan to file litigation seeking a declaratory judgment and an injunction. They'd also file for a temporary injunction at the get-go in order to stop anybody from having to file by July 1. There is a grace period till September 1st before fines start accruing. So they have reached out to all the city attorneys asking, first they said they needed at least 10 cities to sign on in order to file. They have those numbers. If we join as a city, it's $10,000 flat fee. It includes attorneys' fees and costs, and if they're successful, we could get some of those fees and costs back. If we do not do this as a whole, an individual commissioner can join for $2,000 per commissioner. So it's kind of a wash for the city.
Is it, since they have their numbers already, does it add gravitas and standing if they have more pile on?
City Manager Rashadat has more experience in terms of the gravitas. It is his belief that the more, the better, to add emphasis. With over 100 elected officials quitting, it does signal to Tallahassee that this is a huge issue statewide, and not just a select few.
I do have a couple things to add to that. With that joint effort, they will file an injunction so that we do not have to file Form 6. a temporary injunction. And so that right there is a big help. If not, you're going to be following it by January 1st. But this temporary injunction at least will buy some time. And there are 22 cities have already joined this. They only needed 10. They already have 22.
You know, the other important part of this litigation is it will discourage, you know, members of the citizenry to volunteer for public. It's essentially volunteering with the salaries you all make, but you get my point.
I'm in it for the money.
Correct.
Okay, Mr. Rashadat, do you have any advice based on your wide experience, sir?
The only thing I could say is, it's like, if you have, I guess, the more cities that join the lawsuit or the filing, I think it speaks loud to, I guess, to the state legislator. So if you have 5 cities comparing to 50 cities, I think it speaks louder because that's where their votes are. So that's when I suggested to the city attorney that probably if more cities join, I think it would be helpful. My only thing is, if it's more cities, I think it should be less fee, but I haven't heard that, so I think it's still $10,000 for each city. So, but again, I think if they win, those fees will be, I guess, reimbursed back.
Appreciate that. Would you like to put that in the form of a motion, ma'am?
Oh, just one before we do a motion. So normally, if we prompt litigation, we don't require a resolution. This particular law firm did draft a resolution, which we assigned it resolution number 1124, and it goes through their legal theories. It is in front of you tonight. So you have the option of, you don't have to join via this resolution, but it is drafted here for your convenience if you should move to adopt resolution number 1124.
Can we do that? Must we do that tonight, or can we consider it separately?
You can make multiple motions.
But I mean, I'm going back to Commissioner Hartman's wise wisdom that says don't jump in. We could do that at another meeting, and we could still
Or
vote
you
on.
cannot do it at all.
Got it. Okay, so it doesn't have to go tonight. Should we vote to join?
It doesn't have to go at all.
All right, got it. Wonderful.
So I just want to make a comment on that. Let me start by saying I think I want to at least wait one meeting. I like the dialogue we're going to have on this. I also had a lot of concern about this. As Valley brought up, we were not elected under this. And I will tell you that the Form 1, I always thought was a joke. Any asset, list an asset over $1,000, basically just where it's located. You know, is it a savings, a checking, at what bank? So that was pretty weak. And I understand the concern of why they did this, but I think they went to the other extreme. I think this is so invasive that it's deeply concerning. I don't like riding the coattails off of other people for a free ride. So I got to decide whether or not I think I want to get into this or not. You know, as soon as we do get into it, we're going to be targets. And it's almost like, you're damned if you do and damned if you don't on this. But I hate riding the coattails of people who took that step forward for something that was right. And I'm not looking to not report things. I'm just looking for something that gives you more information than Form 1, but doesn't go to the extensiveness of what Form 6 does. And there's just a lot of reasons why in my situation as a father of young kids and a small business person, why I have a lot of problem with that. But you're immediately labeled corrupt if you're going to if you say anything about it, and that is what happened. On January 1st, immediately I saw dozens of reels of people accusing those who stepped down of being corrupt, and it was sad because a lot of good people stepped down from office because they didn't want their personal finances exploited over all the public venues and different ways that are with social media and everything else. So I'd like to sit on this for a meeting digest it.
So okay, that's one input. We'll get some more here. And a question I might have is there a timing issue on when to join?
There is. I'm going through my emails to find it, but there is a timing issue.
I think it's
So-
into this week.
Yeah, go ahead and look it up. The question would then be, do we have enough time between now and the next commission meeting
I
to join?
don't believe so.
Okay. Other comments, Ms. Commissioner Martin?
Yeah, well, it seems to me, I'm trying to figure out what the motion is being made. Is the motion to, well, I want to clarify when this comes up because we started down some, there's one motion about whether to use the resolution, and there's another motion potentially about whether to join the lawsuit at all.
Right.
So I want to
So-
make sure these are differentiated.
They are, and the city attorney made it clear, this does not have to be, the resolution can be filed tonight, can never be filed, it can be filed another time. Joining,
So they plan to file this week.
okay,
So if we want to have our name on that, we would need to let them know.
got it. So,
Help me with this, I apologize.
Go right ahead.
The difference between joining the lawsuit and this resolution is what?
Nothing. It's the same thing. It's the manner, if you would like to join the lawsuit, you can either do it by motion, just to, I direct the city attorney to respond, or just adopt the resolution. Alternate means of accomplishing the same goal.
thank you. Commissioner Hartman.
So what does this do for those who aren't elected yet, but are required to fill out the form if they are a candidate for office?
They could join in the lawsuit.
Okay. But our blanket, us joining the lawsuit would not include them as a potential candidate for an office in New Smyrna? Or?
Well, if they're successful in getting the temporary injunction, I would assume they would draft it in a manner that this Form 6 requirement would be on pause until this lawsuit is resolved, which would exempt out any future candidates. Does that make sense?
Yeah. But like Jason, I still, I wish we had more time to kind of digest some of these things and work through it before we were.
Yep.
I think
My apologies.
I think it cuts both ways. You have, in the eye of public opinion and those pundits who would call one of us one or one of us another, if you have a fortune, you will be criticized. If you have no fortune, you will be criticized. And so there's not a win. It's not a win-win. I see it as a lose-lose. And certainly joining could give the optics that, what are you hiding there, Cleveland? What's the problem? And as Commissioner Perrine points out, it's not about that, but somebody could make it about that. It's about the rights and privileges that we have as citizens and as public servants and as Americans. This is a requirement that is not being asked of people that are way up the line. So I agree with Commissioner McGurk's comment that the pendulum has certainly swung from Form 1 potentially being a joke to Form 6 being a very amazing personal examination that is well beyond the intent of what they're probably trying to do. So I'd urge us to act and join if it and not be late to the date, especially if it was won and we could get that money back, it'd be just fine. I understand that it's an election year and everybody's going to wear a label about this, but if anybody that with any depth to their research looks at what is being required here, it's unreasonable.
My last comment that I forgot to mention is I listened to all the interviews, and Commissioner McGurk mentioned that some of the people that quit were criticized, but a lot of those people that quit were actually doctors and attorneys that were on commission boards, and they didn't want to disclose who their private clients were because of their confidentiality. And this has no barriers, boundaries with it, and it's ridiculous. It's just safety of what's in your home. And so I've watched, if you Google and watch all of the news articles, there were just a recent one 4 days ago, more people are quitting. One entire city has quit. We don't want that. You know, none of us want to quit up here. But the thing that I want to do is to be safe. And that's why I've chosen to do this versus quit. And I just hope you join me, and I'll make a motion when you're ready.
I will say that with the knowledge that we don't have the time to wait till the next meeting, I would support getting in the lawsuit.
Any more discussion we can discuss before or after a motion? I'd prefer to have a motion and a second, and then we can talk if we want some more. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to adopt a resolution of the City of New Smyrna Beach authorizing participation in a lawsuit seeking a declaration that the provisions of Section 112, 144 Florida statutes that require municipal elected officials to file Form 6 financial disclosure forms in unconstitutional and invalid, and providing for an effective date.
Have a motion. Is there a second? There's a second and some more discussion, perhaps. Anybody else want to drain this so that we fully understand what we're doing? We've had good comments about the risks and the optics, and then in fact what each of us, potentially I have, looked at exactly what's on the Form 6, and so it's an overkill in my assessment. And I recognize the safety as being key, certainly for those of us that are private citizens who came up here and decided to put it out there and do goodwill for the city, and may have reservations about what evil might befall us. It's a prudent step. We have an amazing police department and an amazing public safety program, but we are in a different world today than we were before this was contemplated. So I speak in favor of it. Any other comments? Sir?
Do we know of any what other cities in Volusia County have joined? Do we know?
I did not poll
Okay.
anyone.
But we know there are how many counties or cities total?
22.
Have joined? 22?
And 49 individuals on top of the
Plus
22.
on top, 22 and 49, so 70 some.
And this is just for municipalities. This particular lawsuit was sent to the city attorneys.
Got it. Anybody else? Madam Assistant City Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hartman,
No.
Commissioner Martin,
No.
Vice Mayor Perine,
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk,
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Thank you so much. Is there more to your report, ma'am?
No, that's all for tonight.
Okay. How about you, Commissioner, Vice Mayor? Any more?
The only thing I wanted to add was about our workshop on February 20th. We're not going to have another meeting before then, so I encourage everybody to come and speak how they feel about this. The last workshop we had was for only the public and not for us, so I'll have plenty to say, so stay tuned.
Good. Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate that. Commissioner Hartman, your report, sir.
I have a couple of items. First, I'd like to address Donna's concerns that she brought before us earlier with the Turnbull Creek Commission. I think they've been very active and proactive in what they've done, and I think we've amassed these hundreds of acres for the Turnbull Creek preservation. But like she says, I think they need some new guidance and direction. So I'd like to have if I could get a consensus tonight on do we want to proceed in a workshop setting to discuss some of these items, or do we just want to give the city attorney some direction to go ahead and create a new resolution that would include some of these items that she mentioned? I think they have done a fantastic job, and I think they are a committed group of individuals, and I think there are even better things that could be done with this land preservation, and certainly we know how hard our staff has been working on this and everything that they do on a day-to-day. So to have that group of citizens that would also be willing to commit some time and energy, you know, to look at options going forward, I think would be of a benefit. So I just wanted to get a consensus from you guys tonight. Do you want to do this in a workshop, or do you want to just do it as a resolution?
I favor the workshop because it'll involve all great minds and those that might want to come and participate. Were my 2 cents. Is there anybody else that has a view on it?
I really like what she's done, and it's a huge benefit to our city. Do we have anything to look at now that they've done already, or are you creating this from scratch?
She cited some ideas about what could be in the future, the ideas that her group has put together, but I favor the Commissioner Hartman idea of, hey, let's have the workshop where we're relaxed. Many can come, we can advertise it, we can talk about it, and the citizens can come up and say, hey, what about this, what about that?
So my comment on that is, this was a voter referendum that had specific language of what was going to be done. So my concern is that I think we need to look at it from a legal context and see if we actually legally what we can do and how we may need to do it, because I believe there is specific language.
So this expenditure of the monies are restricted.
Yeah.
What the board does can be up to you all. So spending of monies will have to be
Spending
right
the money
cue.
is on land acquisition only.
But yeah, right, the advisory board was not a part of that.
Right. Okay, so we have the voter referendum where it spells out what we do with the money.
Correct.
But the voter referendum does not prevent us from expanding the board's authority to do everything else that does not include spending the money.
Correct. I'm a little
Sorry,
nervous
that's the way
about
I
the end
worded
of your
that.
sentence, but you got it.
In other words, okay, here we go.
Good. Any objection, and is there consensus to have a workshop to go forward? Yes, sir, City Manager. Sir.
Just a suggestion. I think it'd be probably more beneficial to have the staff meet with Donna and her group, or Donna, and come up with items of the resolution and then present it back to the commission. We got so much public meetings and workshop. I think it will save you time and save you headache by having them coming up with the list and present it back to you as a resolution, and then you could either add, subtract, and whatever. So that would be my suggestion.
Yeah, I was fine either way. I just, you know.
Without objection to following the wise counsel of the city manager, so tasked. What else, ma'am?
Oh, me.
Sir.
So, as you're all very well aware, we have some issues in Venetian Bay. We have issues with stormwater and stormwater management. I'm not so sure that it's our problems or if there are something else that's going on. There's our group of concerned citizens that have been in a very active way dealing with some of these problems. They've got some outside council opinions on what may happen. So I've been in conversation with staff and sharing all of the photos and emails with them about some of these issues. And I would like for staff to take a deeper dive into this and stop any new projects going forward that aren't already on the books until we figure out, is it a design problem? Is it a retention problem? Or is there just old data that we use topographically that the water won't drain because, you know, that. So with that, you know, I've asked Khalid to kind of look into this and see where we may go with this.
And I asked,
There's a lot to unpack there. There's a potential motion, there's a potential legal, how you stop progress and what resolution have to be. And so, City Manager, help us go through what you think we ought to do.
and I did. I have asked staff to look into this because obviously, as you mentioned, you know, from the time we have Ian until today, we keep getting emails, and also when we have any storms, that there's some issues there with stormwater. So staff have investigated. I don't think we went deep into it, but based on the information we have today, and I would have Ron elaborate on that, but Ron has spoken to staff and also to our city attorney regarding this issue. So I think Ron has an answer for us at this point, so go ahead.
A couple of issues, actions that we've taken is we have put GeoSam a la Venetian Bay on the position that we are concerned with the stormwater. They have already engaged the services of a professional engineer to research and evaluate their system to address and find any potential physical problems or design problems. From the standpoint of our ability to enforce performance, we do have a right, and in consultation with legal staff, we can delay the approvals of any new projects that would add to the stormwater situation that currently exists. So we have that ability. We will be notifying GeoSam of that staff opinion here in short order, but it's our position and the position, if the commission so desires, to put them on notice that we have the ability to delay any approvals based on stormwater deficiencies.
One caveat, Commissioner Hartman, I would like to be able to sit down and talk about some specific permits to make sure we're not like all in, I need to look into the actual process of how we do that.
Correct.
But I agree with if it's a stormwater problem that's not working, allowing more to hook up to there is an issue.
Commissioner McGurk.
So I support this 100%. I have, it was a little challenging at first with all the different emails from different people on different issues in Venetian Bay, but I have had some time to meet with some people out there, talk with them, and it is clear to me that there's a high likelihood of something's not working right in the stormwater system. So I would support that 100%, and I simply will look for staff to figure out the proper way to do that and brief me on what we've done. Thank you.
Any other comments? I have had communications with, I can't remember Carl's last name, but he seems to be leading that group, and then some professional efforts by Mr. Mooney, who lives out there and has contracted professional legal counsel to bring forward and do the research on potentially errors of the past, engineering and otherwise. And so they're very serious about it. They have their act together. The citizens are wondering what we will do to help them. So I favor the halt. Certainly a thorough examination. There's going to be a meeting out there, and I understand that Commissioner Hartman and I have been asked to attend. We can attend, and Randy, if you want to speak because it's your zone, I'll watch. I'm happy to watch and not speak. But I don't think we can afford not to act in a deliberate way. My question is consensus enough? Does that hold enough weight? Or should we be very deliberate about it, and does it need a specific motion to move forward?
So it's interesting because I'm not entirely sure of the correct process as of sitting here at this moment. So it may be that I need to bring back an ordinance. I'm not sure because it's a different application of the term moratorium than we have seen in the past in terms of applying our code. This is different. It's not applying our code. There's a problem out there. So I just need to, figure out the correct procedural steps. But if I could get, probably a motion for me to proceed in that manner.
I think we can get you there. What I was worried about is it enough to give him the delay signal? Is it within the staff purview to delay and they don't need consideration from us?
I'm not following.
One of the
He's
points,
asking if staff has the authority to deny any future permits based on non-compliance with the stormwater plan.
It's a possibility, but I need to dig in further.
so you prefer a motion to what?
Motion to direct the city attorney to investigate the procedural steps for establishing a moratorium on any new development permits that impact the stormwater system at Venetian Bay.
I make that motion.
There we have a motion.
Second.
And there's a second. Madam Assistant City Clerk, please call the
Who
roll.
was the second? Apologies.
About me.
Commissioner Martin.
Yes.
Commissioner Martin.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Perine.
Yes. Yes.
Commissioner McGurk.
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman.
Yes.
And Mayor Cleveland.
Yes.
Thank you.
I was just excited.
I can tell this is great. Is there more from Commissioner Hartman?
I had one other item, but I think I'll save it for later, so.
All right, sir. Commissioner Martin.
Well, it seems to be quite a night for asking for consensus. A couple of things. Roadside parking on Skinny Little Hill Street by beachgoers is causing problems for Hill Street residents and guests. And I have been asked to have no parking signs put up. And so I'm asking for a consensus from the commission to put no parking signs in the areas that you can't even drive through because there are so many cars parked along the streets.
Commissioner Martin, what you mean is for the commission to direct staff to look into it and come back with a, that's what you mean, right?
It's exactly what I mean.
And I didn't even see your hand on that, Colin. Very good. So this is the idea that says the staff should look into what's right, legal, and proper, and not for having the commission direct operations. Without objection, please proceed with that.
Okay. And the other one is, okay, let's see. Flagler merchants believe that the culture of the avenue should be protected. Both Hampton Inn and Spring Hill Street Suites even wrote it wrong, had to adhere to the old Florida vernacular. Collado Real Estate paid dearly to restore that building. I believe we have the ability to establish architectural standards for the district to meet the future designs that adhere to the aesthetic. Could I get consensus to request that staff look into preparing appropriate LDRs?
I thought, yeah, I support it, but I thought we passed a general design guideline for Florida vernacular.
Well, no, we passed commercial standards which have yielded our earth-toned, non-flat-faced buildings on 44. There are a lot of architectural standards, but no, there's a lot of misconceptions about what is in place for beachside, and the truth is there really aren't any guardrails. So it would just be for staff to say, hey, can we find some way to help maintain that culture through the LDRs?
So there's a lot of history here, and the reason it's not there and it's been so challenging is because a lot of, when you get into the details, a lot of people oppose it. A lot of the property owners oppose it. So again, I think we can try to touch on it and see what happens.
Hampton and Spring Hill Suites had to jump through a lot of hoops to adhere to that style. And I can trust you that there are more people, because that street, when you come across the North Causeway, it is, that's what we're selling.
Right.
And we're selling that old Florida vernacular. And so a lot of businesses are opposed to the two buildings that don't conform in any way, shape, or form to an old seaside, and they are very concerned. I've had FABA come and say to me, hey, what kind of guardrails can we put on? So I'm just asking staff, could we have staff look to see what we can do? We're never going to satisfy everybody with everything.
Question.
But, yeah.
Why was Marriott and Hampton required to stick to Florida and not the Avenue?
Because there was a perception. Those were both PUDs, and we imposed that as a requirement of the PUD. Avenue, just being a single standalone building, and since there were no architectural standards for Flagler Avenue, a lot of people thought there were. The same thing with Krabby's. They're saying, wait, where did that come from? There are no standards for that.
Slippery slope to overreach from my view. I like what Flagler looks like. I like that it honors the past and looks to the future. This is your second tasker for the city staff, and you often lecture us about loading up the city staff with their time being so valuable. And now I see you deciding on things that you would like them to look at over and above what they normally do. And so with that, it's a balance, and so I don't see consensus, and if you'd like to make a motion, I'm happy to help you with that.
Khalid, could you help me out?
A motion to request staff to look into architectural design guidelines for Flagler Avenue.
There's the motion.
Can,
And we can second and then talk. There's a second from,
Second for discussion.
second and for discussion, Commissioner McGurk.
So I'd ask that I would like to see the people come in, send us some emails. Who are those who actually want to get involved in this? Because my fear is we've been down this road a lot of times, and I don't want to open up a huge can of worms and then people say, initially they tell you, oh, yeah, no, I want to do this, and then they back away from it as soon as it becomes has some controversy. I would like to see a response from the property owners on Flagler Avenue before I want to start that ball rolling in that direction. I want to see some sort of public commitment that that's what they want. And I'm not talking about people who live away from there. I'm talking about the store owners and the property owners.
Any other discussion on that, Commissioner, Vice Mayor Perrine?
I think I would have a lot of questions. I like the idea of it. But what if a hurricane hit a building that wasn't that vernacular? Are they going to have to remodel it back to a new look, or can they put it back the way it was? I have a lot of questions about that motion.
That would be involved in what the staff presented.
I mean, I think you take the Hampton Inn as a good example of how it blends in the, I guess maybe in the design guidelines that the CRA at the time had. So if you go on Flagler to look for the Hampton Inn and you're not from New Smyrna, you probably will pass it because of the way that it was designed. So I think that's what she's looking at. It's something that, when you build, like we have a couple of buildings there that I don't think they blend with Flagler Avenue, without mentioning any names.
Any other questions, Commissioner Hartman?
But this won't solve that problem unless they're more than 50% destroyed at some point in the future, because they would be grandfathered in under what they currently are. So we're not solving what may be a perceived problem with architectural design on Flagler Avenue. It's all built out. I mean, other than the one other property who has proposed something and who has proposed it in a Florida vernacular. I don't know I don't know if it's going to be of any benefit to involve all of the staff time. I raised the same issue several years ago when we did Wildside.
I think it works with two cases. If you have any either remodeling or addition or a new building.
New building.
So, I mean, that's the two things. So, but for the buildings that they're already existing there, if they remain the way they are, I mean, there's nothing you could do. But if they come in to add to it or to do a remodel, then that's when the guidelines will apply. Or a new building.
That's a non-conforming use. And so what happens with a non-conforming use is they come in to add some square footage, and let's say they're going to come in with a $100,000 project. And then we say, well, since you're non-conforming, your $100,000 project is going to be $500,000 or $1 million, because now you have to come in compliance with all the new regulations. That's the challenge. And then we get people say, listen, you guys are killing me. I can't do this. If I do this, you're making me go up here. And these are the issues that we run into
Well, you know, anytime, what is it?
Commissioner
50%?
Martin, go ahead.
Anytime 50% of the value of the building is in for remodeling, it has to come up to current building codes, right? So the Florida vernacular isn't a particular, or any, whatever the staff comes up with, isn't particularly a cost item. If you're doing extensive remodeling, your cost is in wiring and plumbing and fire and all the things that you have to do to build it up, bring it up to the building code level. And by the way, we have a lot of infill going on beachside where people come in and they tear down an existing building and replace it. So just because we see one empty lot here or there, it doesn't mean that's today. And we are an evolving city with people, ownership changes, people come in. So we're not saying you can't have the business that you want, but you are part of a community and you're part of a neighborhood and you are part of functionally a sales pitch. And that you would visually conform to that sales pitch.
Any others? I have one. Repeat my slippery slope to overreach. And at the same time, I want to say that the value of the city is those old buildings and having a small town feel. And so rather than have it be punitive, I think it ought to be incentive to maintain or to rebuild. And so I don't know what that mechanism would be, what kind of break, what time. So rather than restrict and handcuff those that would buy in, we have several who have bought in and either didn't do their due diligence or discovered that, hey, you're on an archaeological dig site, and before you sell this and do any modifications, when potential buyers come in, they understand that the costs have been tripled or quadrupled. So I don't think that's our role. I think our role is to encourage the good behavior that Commissioner Martin's talking about, is to honor the buildings that we have there. And I wanted to it would be my hope that this group would find incentives or have the staff find incentives to allow people to do that rather than to restrict what goes on. That's just my personal view. Anybody else? Yeah, Vice Mayor.
The only comment I have is I don't like the Historic Preservation Board coming to the historic homeowners in my area telling us what we need to do when they don't even live there. Same thing, flip that. I don't live on Flagler Avenue, so I would like, and I'm all about property owner rights. I do like our town to look like the buildings are old, but I don't know what that would impact, and I don't know how much time staff needs to dig into that. I would like, if we were to do this, I would personally be going door to door asking every single property owner how they feel about it. That's a lot of work. Because there's 800 homes that are in historic, and I don't know how many historic businesses there are, but we don't want to infringe on their property owner rights.
This really isn't a historic district or anything like that issue. It has nothing to do with that. Most of Flagler is not in the National Historic District. Most of those buildings are not occupied by the businesses, and I have recently collected all the mailing addresses for all of the property owners on Flagler. So if what the commission would prefer, that we mail out a letter to each of the property owners on Flagler, and I think there's I can't remember offhand how many, I'm sure we can arrange to do that.
Motion on the floor. Any other discussion? Madam Assistant City Clerk, please call the roll. And the motion is to direct staff, and so that's the yes or no.
Direct staff, I apologize, I seconded the motion. What was the actual motion?
Direct staff to look at the LDRs.
Have a staff look at to come up with to see if the possibility of having architectural guidelines for Flagler Avenue.
To see if there's a possibility.
Call the roll, please.
Vice Mayor Perrine,
No.
Commissioner McGurk,
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman,
Yes.
Commissioner Martin,
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland.
No. Next, any more from Commissioner Martin?
No,
more?
I'm all finished. Thank
All
you.
right, very good. Commissioner McGurk.
So after some very intense and very important discussion tonight, I got to come up with something important. No, listen, actually, the only thing I had is I just wanted to let everybody know that the varsity boys Cuda soccer team is accomplishing something the soccer team has never accomplished. They're going, so tonight's a game. Hopefully they win tonight.
Which varsity? New Smyrna?
Cuda's varsity soccer team. And there's a lot of seniors on it, and keep your eye out for that because they're making accomplishments that our soccer teams never have. Our boys soccer team hasn't. So heads up on that, and maybe this is going to end very well, and we're going to have a reason to celebrate. That's it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, sir. Happy Valentine's Day tomorrow to everyone here and listening in. Town is hyped up and ready to help you celebrate. A bit of sad news, just a moment to remember Skip Deagle, our beloved owner and operator of WSBB, has passed. His service was at the end of last month. The assistant city manager went to represent us all. And a sad passage to see Skip go, and hoping WSBB can continue to operate. Commending the ACA for their images success. We had a great weekend of weather, and for art and an congratulations to you all. I attended a county resiliency workshop this past week, and it was insightful and rewarding to watch our county lead in a resiliency initiative that would collect all the city's inputs and form a presentation, a proposal, request for funding that addresses both inland needs and seaside needs. And so, lest you think the county is sitting on their laurels, they have people dedicated to do that. And so if you attended that workshop either online, which many did, or you want to hear a taping recording of that, it's available. Employee Appreciation Day for the City of New Smyrna Beach is February 21st. Before we meet again from 11 to 3, look forward to meeting and greeting and talking to each of the amazing city staff that we have here. On the 26th of this month will be the city's State of the City address. We haven't had one for some time. Doors open at 5:30. The event will start at 6 o'clock. We'll have a reception to follow so that each of the commissioners can meet the residents. Each of the residents can meet with their individual commission, and so we'll have the reception to follow after that. So 26th, it's a Monday. Mark your calendar, please. Art Fiesta coming up here in town, 24th and 25th. It's an awesome event sponsored by the city, Parks Leisure Services organization. It's a favorite of the locals. A lot of local artists there. Please turn out to that weekend, 24 and 25 February. As the city manager mentioned, we attended legislative days in Tallahassee last week as we accompanied the Volusia County League of Cities, and they made venues available for a large group, maybe 20 or 30 of us that were there, with department heads that make funding determinations, with secretaries of transportation, of commerce, et cetera. So we went in with their agenda. One of the big ones was the home rule, or local governing opposition that we have, which has an influence on the density and development and a reward system that's in place, which we're trying to counter. We've had some limited success in the House and bigger success in the Senate with making amendments and changes to the in-place rule set, which would dissuade would-be builders and developers to come in and densely populate, which is an economic boon for them, both from a tax perspective and from a revenue perspective. Right now, if they do a low-cost housing development with high density, they escape any local taxes. So the municipality doesn't get any any service money, and the builders get a discount, so they're incentivized to do that. We're trying to reverse that. When you see the building level in DeBerry and Deltona, you will understand that those permits have quadrupled or more, and so we're trying to turn the tide back on that. We went, Mr. Rashadat and I, to Senator Wright and to Representative Tremont's office to lobby for our 3 stormwater projects. While not a huge amount of material money, a little over $1.2 million, $1.3 million, they're vital to storm water prevention. The generator at the gym, the Babe James Center, the Live Oak Center, which would provide shelter for those that don't have it, and since we have an escape challenge when we're trying to remove people out of their homes and where do we take them, this would provide a power source in those 3 locations. And the other 2 were stormwater evacuation projects that we would like help funding with. We got some real positive. It is funded in the Senate. It's not funded in the House. So we harped on Representative Tremont a bit. He took us to the Speaker of the House's office. We met with the Speaker's finance director, and we think we made some headway to get that funded on both sides. That's all I have to report. And now on to Assistant City Clerk. Your report, ma'am?
No report at this time.
Okay, City Attorney. Good. Mr. City Manager.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you, sir. We're adjourned.